The American Cancer Society Making Strides Against Breast Cancer. It's an annual walk. It's usually at the end of October. And they asked me 2 years ago if I wanted to put together a team. So that's when we formed Val's Pals.
So then you sign up officially, basically, and then it's a way for people to basically go in and donate to the cause, and you can spread awareness?
Right. There are a lot of people that they have fundraisers and different fundraising activities. I just put it on my webpage and say to people, I'm going to be in a walk. You're invited to come and join us to walk at the very crowded Jones Beach, and please make a donation.
That's awesome. And so in order to come, you more or less should make a donation kind of thing?
Of course,
Strong.
The American Society wants you to make a donation, but I want everybody to come and walk with me. So you can, once you register to walk, you should show up and walk, but more importantly, make a donation.
And did that recently happen?
That I made it a bigger fundraiser? Or
No, the actual walk. Or is it coming up?
25 years they've been doing it at Jones Beach.
But I mean, when is the actual walk this year?
I'm sorry, October 21st. It just passed.
Okay. I'm trying to think of when that was like
The Sunday before Halloween weekend.
Okay. So it was good? It was
Yeah,
awesome?
oh my gosh, it was a lot of fun. It was a little cold that day because it's 64 the day before on Saturday, and then it was 46 down at the beach, cold and windy and rainy. But no, not rainy. Just we have walked in the rain. We've walked in beautiful weather, but it was cold, really windy that day. And then because everybody gets out of bed comes for me, and people donated $20,000 worth of money.
For your cause in particular?
Val's Pals raised $20,000.
That's awesome.
Yep.
And you're sure it goes directly
The American Cancer Society, yes, it does get used, but we ended up making a lot of money because my son works for Bloomberg, and Ryan did volunteer work hours, so they donated $5,000 to a charity of his cause, which was that.
Oh, that's cool.
Then Bloomberg matched their own donation, so that's how it got up to $10,000.
Oh, that's sick.
Then I went and spoke to the Northport Rotary Club. They gave me $1,500, and then a lot of generous donations. My brother-in-law made a $1,200 donation. Other friends donated $1,000.
That's awesome. And I'm just curious always about the business side of things. So what's your pitch like? Like, I always feel so funny asking people for money in any way. Obviously, it's not like, can I have this for my pocket? But what's that pitch like?
Well, I guess it's because I've always, ever since I was little, I did charity work, and like I don't like to ask people for money, but if it's for a good cause, then I figured this is what you got to do.
Yeah.
And then, it became my own kind of charity, important to me because in 2011 I was diagnosed with breast cancer. So, people, I only put it on Facebook. We didn't do car washes. We didn't sell candy. I only put it on Facebook. And because I'm so fortunate to have the support group that I have. People just were like, let me know, I'll donate money. And they were like, people at work, oh, you did that breast cancer walk last year. Are you doing it again? I'll give you money. So, I guess.
It kind of just happened for itself, sort of thing.
Right. And then for me now more than ever is that because so much of the money that gets raised from the American Cancer Society does go towards research, I'm in a research project now for my treatment for breast cancer.
So interesting. So you're kind of almost
benefiting from the donations that people have made. Absolutely.
That's kind of crazy.
What you were going to say?
Yeah, I was trying to process it for a second, thinking like it's kind of like indirectly or kind of directly coming back. I'm sure there's many of those experimental sort of like drugs.
Correct. Well, the strides that they've made in treating cancer has been monumental, and that's all because of research that's been done. So, in fact, the medication that I was on the past 2 years wasn't even discovered 5 years ago. So
that's kind of crazy.
Right. And then the medications that I took the past 2 years only worked for me for a year for each medication. This medication that I'm on now is in the experimental phase, but if they find out with all the people who are taking it experimentally that it works, that'll be the next what you get for this kind of breast cancer. So as long as there's always something for me, what I have now, there's no cure for my breast cancer, but there's a way to slow the cancer down. So as long as I could be on these drugs and they slow it down enough to invent the next thing to come along to help me, that's the whole, it's a very selfish reason for me to want people to donate, and because you know what I'm saying, well,
it doesn't sound selfish to me. It sounds like you understand how the process goes, where these experimental sort of you call them drugs or procedures or just experiments?
It's medication that, all the approval that a drug has to go through from the FDA. First they say, oh, look, we've discovered this works on mice. And then we have to take it from mice and we have to put it into humans. And, the medication that I'm taking has the ability to cure my cancer and cure me. It has the ability to be toxic for me and kill me. So it is kind of really like, a risky thing. But I'm in the phase of the trial where they believe in the past they've gotten good results and that this will be the new best thing on the market that's out there for patients with my kind of cancer.
That's awesome. So you're doing a good thing for you and for other people who might need it for the future. And to the point about it being a selfish thing, it doesn't sound selfish to me. It sounds like you understand the process of how it works as far as this is the drug that you need to test, I guess, on mice and then on people. And then once it's approved, then it can actually help a lot of people. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
That's how every medication that we take now that's prescribed by a doctor and filled at the pharmacist, that's how they all came to be. They had to get approval and get on the market. And what was so weird is I had told her that I was a nurse. And in the past, when I first started out as a nurse, 30 years ago being a nurse, I took care of patients and they were so sick from chemo. They were so sick. Their hair fell out. They were nauseous. There was just so many things that didn't go well for them. And it really didn't even do that great with their cancer. So now here it is all these years later, people take drugs, they get, people are living longer with cancer than they ever had before. The strides that they've made has been amazing because of experiments and things that have come new to the market.
And I guess most people have to be in a situation where you qualify and you're willing to do it.
Right. Of course, you have to meet the criteria for the study. I don't have to do this. Like, nobody forced me to do it. I could say, weigh my options and maybe say this isn't for me. But for right now, I don't really have a lot of other alternatives. And I saw what was done on the past with people on this medication and said, this might not work for me. This might harm me, but I'm hopeful that this is what's going to help me.
Do you have anything that you do every day for yourself, be it looking in the mirror and brushing your hair, or a mantra for yourself? Like, is there some sort of thing that you do to set your mindset or reset your mindset that day?
Every day I wake up and I just open my eyes and I realize I'm in my bed, and right away I just wake up and I'm so grateful because I'm like, I get another chance to have a great day. And I sit here and I'm like, the first thing I think of is, I really have to go to the bathroom because I'm an older lady and that's what you have to do in the morning. And then I'm thinking, well, it's really good that I'm thinking that I have to go to the bathroom. So that means my brain is working. That means my kidneys are working. The next thing I got to get out of bed. And like sometimes I have a little aches and pains, but I get out of bed and I go to the bathroom. And as soon as I'm in the bathroom, I'm just so happy because I'm like, everything's good. I didn't have a stroke while I was sleeping. I could still think like things. And then I say to myself, what am I going to do today? I'm going to get the opportunity to make today a great day.
That's so
and that's
freaking cool.
exactly what I do.
And it's literally every day where it's actually that conscious?
Every day.
And has that always been that way?
Never.
So that, came about after getting sick?
Absolutely. And what had happened was when I got sick the first time in 2011, I had worked as a registered nurse. I had a good job. I had great insurance. I had a great support system. And I said, I really have no patience to be a stage 3 breast cancer patient. So I just went to work every day and I said, I don't want my life to change. And I'm just going to grin and bear having a mastectomy. I'm going to grin and bear having chemo. I'm going to grin and bear having radiation. I'm just going to get this horrible year behind me. No more cancer, and then everything's going to be great. So that's exactly what I did in the year of 2011. It was a very tough year. I concentrated on the focus about so much is good. I'm really so fortunate for even though I have to go through this, I'm really lucky. I have insurance. I have relatively good health other than cancer. I have great support people, and I'm like, I'm really lucky. And then I said to myself, you know what? I never really thought about like what happened when I wasn't healthy. And when in 2011, I thought to myself, wow, I think I better start being more appreciative of being healthy. And
so this is after you beat the cancer?
The first time. So I said, I'm just going to live each day like that song, Live Like You Were Dying. It really, even though I worked as a nurse and I like saw like a lot of sad, tragic things, and I always knew like, well, one day people are going to get sick. People do get sick. This is life. Nobody gets out alive. Nobody gets handed only roses. So bad things are going to happen. And when it was my turn, I was like, okay, this is the bad thing that's going to happen to me. But I'm just going to do everything I can just to put it behind me as quickly as I can. So that's kind of how I lived 1 year. And then 5 years later, I found out that my breast cancer had returned to my bones. So that's metastatic breast cancer. That makes me stage 4 instead of stage 3. That makes my cancer that I have now at this moment incurable. It could be slowed down, but it can't be cured. And then I started to think 2 years ago when I was re-diagnosed, I said, you know what? I really didn't treat myself all that good the first time because I had a good perspective.
Mentally, you didn't treat yourself that well, or everything?
Well, mentally, I thought I had a good perspective. And I said, I got this beat. I got this beat. And I celebrated 5 years. Cancer behind me for 5 years. This is great. Boom. 5 years and a day later, I was like, okay, I have a bad back and something's not right. And sure enough, it was that cancer is in my spine, my hip, and my shoulder. So I was like, something's not right because cancer really didn't go away. For 5 years, I thought it went away, but it didn't go away. And then all of a sudden, I said to myself, this is a game changer. This means that I'm most probably this is what's going to kill me. And not later, but sooner. So I said, all right, I really got to refocus and regroup. And I'm going to take the best care of myself that I can. I had a stressful job, and I was always like, I could handle everything. I got to the point where I realized this is tough, and I can't handle everything, but I'm going to handle it the best that I can. So I stopped working, which I was fortunate enough that I could. I see that you're crying, but the thing is, I say to people all the time, like, I live just how I want to be living. I don't want any regrets. If there's things that I've wanted to say to people, I've had the opportunity to say them, which if you don't go through life thinking like, your end is kind of, it's like driving in your car and you're always looking in the rearview mirror because like the cancer's like right behind you. But it sounds scary and it sounds sad, but at the same time, it's one of the best things that's ever happened to me, only because I just live so real. Like I realize stupid stuff is stupid stuff. I just get to do what I want. And not that I'm like a mean, crazy person, like, oh, I have cancer, I'm allowed to act like a 3-year-old spoiled child. It just makes me realize that I'm appreciative and grateful for everything that's good in my life. And I don't think and I've met a lot of people. I have a big support group of people that have serious cancers. And we all kind of say the same thing. It's unpleasant and it's not a good thing to have, but it just makes you realize that life is so short and tomorrow isn't guaranteed for anybody. So
that's so crazy that you can have such a positive mentality. And I'm the one sitting here crying while you're talking about this illness that could, hopefully not, but could end your life. Like, that's so freaking scary to me. And I totally respect and appreciate the mentality and the mindset that you're able to maintain. So obviously I have questions about it. Given that you realized that that you should be more positive once you were healthy again after the first time you had cancer, when you were diagnosed again, did you automatically continue with a positive mindset? Or, I mean, I'm assuming you have to have highs and lows, or is it pretty much positive?
But it's kind of funny because the first time, like, I wasn't afraid. Because I was like, okay, it's like, when you find out that you have cancer, it's so scary. They're like, you have cancer. And then there's so much that you don't know. And then as they stage you, they're like, say odds, you have stage 1, stage 2, stage 3. And people talk about odds and, what you could expect and everything. And I just thought to myself, like, this is my own personal journey. It's like, a woman you get pregnant, 9 months later you have birth. Mm-hmm. But everybody has a different pregnancy and the birth is even different for everybody. So I was sitting there and I was like, wow, I just, I have this lump in my breast and now I'm going through the staging process. And they're like, you've stage 3.
This is the first time or the second?
The first time.
Okay.
So I said, oh my gosh, I didn't want it to be stage 3. I wanted 1 or 2 or nothing. But I said, thank God it's not stage 4. I kept saying, I'm going to do this. I'll be a good sport. I'll put this behind me because it's not stage 4. So after going through what I went through and then 5 years later celebrating, yay, cancer's done. I'm done having cancer. Then all of a sudden they're like, oops, we got bad news for you. Your cancer isn't gone. Your cancer was in your bones and now it's manifesting and spreading. And that's why you're now stage 4. And the doctor had said, when you're stage 4, you'll die of breast cancer. This is going to be like what kills you. And then I thought to myself, holy crap.
And they just say it like that?
Yeah. It's like, and the good thing is now is like, there's so many unknown things about cancer is that stage 4 used to be a death sentence, but there are people who have survived for 5 and 10 and 15 years with stage 4. So when I was talking earlier about the experimental medications, thank God, even the medication that I'm on right now, I may find out in a couple of days that it's not working. And then we have to look for another alternative, or I may find out that it is working. And then we don't know how long it's going to work for. Yeah. So there's a lot of unknown things. And
in those moments, you just kind of are like, I'm just going to chill and relax. Like coming from someone who I'm able to handle a bunch of jobs, but within those jobs, I'm very bad at not getting overwhelmed by the little things that, oh, is this person going to be worried that I took off? Oh, did I say the wrong thing to this person? Could I lose my job? Blah, blah, blah. I get stressed over those things. I got stressed over something like that Friday into a meeting I'm having on Monday, and it's still on my mind. For you, what you just said, you don't know what the result is going to be in a couple days. So how do you deal with that? Any advice to me and other people?
Well, the thing is, I am grateful every day. I start off grateful every day, and I'm hopeful every day. And Sage, when I first graduated nursing school, I worked at Nassau County Medical Center, and I worked on a floor. And the first room, when I came onto my unit, the first room walking onto the unit and the last room walking out of the unit was 2 21-year-old girls that had non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. They were 21 years old. They were like 2 of my first patients, and they were in the hospital at 21 because they were passing away. And I was a brand new nurse, and I'm like, look at me. I got a new car. I rent an apartment. I have a great social life. I have this great job. I'm like the coolest.
You're the same age as them.
The 3 of us, 21 years old. And I thought to myself, you know what? I just don't get it. Every night I'm leaving work, and those girls are like, bye, have a good time. What bar are you going to? What are you doing? And I would go down in the elevator, and I thought to myself, like this thing about life. There's 2 girls that are they're at the end of their life. Yeah. They're not going to make it to see 22. And here's me. And I just had said that, you know what? I worked in the medical profession, and I took care of young patients, old patients. And I was like, something's going to get every one of us eventually. You don't go through life only get handed roses.
Yeah.
So I said, things are going to get thrown at me, and I'm just going to have to handle them the way that works for me.
So you were able to adopt that mentality early on. But you also, I know you've said, I think you said it earlier today, but given that I know you, I think you even said it the last time I saw you maybe. I don't know. But that you, or even just before, you said that, I said, did you always wake up that way with the, feeling grateful for every little thing? You said no. So even though you did understand that at 21,
right,
you still had a.
You know what? I always used to say to people, people be like, oh, I don't know whether or not I should go on that trip. I said, go on that trip, because you never know if you're going to get hit by a bus today or you're going to find a lump in your breast tomorrow. Mm-hmm. And I used to say that all the time. That was just something I said. So when I found the lump in my breast, like I said, the first time I woke up and I said, you know what? There are a lot of things that I'm doing that I'm wasting a lot of time. And when you get a diagnosis like cancer, you start to think about, I don't know if this will be my last Christmas. I don't know if this will be my last Thanksgiving. And then after a while, so you kind of start to look at things differently. And I just said to myself, the first time I was diagnosed, I said, I'm just going to go of stupid stuff. Stupid stuff is just stupid.
It was just a decision.
And I'm going to be more for the moment. But what happened was, I think then I was so scared. And as soon as things went back to the status quo and I put the whole horrible year behind me, I started to make a lot of the same mistakes. 5 years later, I got a second chance. And like I said, the stakes were a little bit higher the second time around because I went from stage 3, which could be cured, to stage 4, can't be cured. We can't cure you, but we could slow your disease down.
That's crazy. So it's a second chance you view it as a second chance at being able to live your life in a very
Correct.
happy, positive way.
And then what I said was, I have a job. I go to work. My job is stressful. And yes, because I'm the person that I am, I made my job more stressful than I had to. And I said, you know what? I've done a lot of things that I've wanted to do. My children are older now. Their college is paid for. And I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to go to work anymore. And I'm going to say yes to things that I want to say yes to. And I'm going to say no to things that I don't want to do. And I'm just going to be really this could be like my last week here. And I just want to make it a great time. And I joined a support group. That was another thing. The first time I said, well, I can't go to a support group. I'm a nurse. I give people support. I don't go to get support. I work with a whole bunch of women at work. They helped me so much. I had a good circle of friends, great support, family, and males, females, family, friends wise. But I just said, this time around, I need to talk to people who have walked this walk and talked this talk. And I belong to an organization called Strength for Life, Long Island.
Cool.
And they give free exercise classes to cancer patients. And it is, for me, the best thing that I've ever found because the exercise moving around is really good. People years ago were like, you're sick and you have issues, don't move around, lay on the couch. Now they realize that's the worst thing that you could do. So, but with these exercise classes, it's the camaraderie that you go to. It's mostly women. It's open for men and women, but mostly women show. They do wellness retreats, which is all just you go in a room and you meet 25 people who are all going through serious cancer, and people are laughing and having a great time. They talk a lot about holistic treatments and things that, to tell you the truth, like even though I was a nurse years ago, I'd be like Reiki, like acupuncture. Why would you do those things? That's crazy. Meditation, that's not really necessary. And now all of a sudden I'm like, those are the things that good nutrition. I eat really, really, really well. I love good food just because I know good food is so good for you. So I've become my having cancer has made me such a positive, upbeat person. It's just, and I just only want to focus on being positive and upbeat because I really think humor is important. You have to laugh. And being around upbeat, positive people, having upbeat, positive thoughts, doing things that makes you feel good, I was like, why not?
Yeah.
Why not? And then when I sit there and I'm like, that shouldn't just be advice for people that have like a terminal illness. That should just be for everybody. Why not?
It stinks that it often takes something serious like that to get you to snap into it, and be like, this is actually time to focus and be good to me and finally eat healthy and all this stuff. I was at my cardiologist appointment like 2 weeks ago, and I just figured I'd ask him about salt intake because I use a salt shaker like it's water, just as if I use it all the time. And I was basically like, if something were to happen where I get like hypertension or something, and then I stop using a salt shaker, is it reversible? Basically asking, can I continue using this until something bad happens, but then it get reversed? And he was like, the point is you're going to go home and you're going to start working on not using the salt shaker. And I was like, you're right. Like I have to, but unfortunately I feel like it just so often takes something bad happening to change that mentality. And if you could talk to yourself, how old are you?
58.
58?
Yeah.
Oh my God, you definitely don't look 58. If you could talk to your 34-year-old self who would get worried about regular things and everything, what would you say to actually make you snap into it and say, Val, like, cut the shit.
No, see, that's the thing. I have a friend and she's Irish, and she said there's some Gaelic saying, and she says it beautifully, but the bottom line is don't plow the fields in your mind. Did you ever hear that expression?
No.
People lay awake at night going, what if this happens? What if that happens? They think of all these crazy things that like limits them from pursuing and doing what they want to do, thinking about things that most probably aren't even going to happen.
Yeah.
So, you know what I'm saying? It's just kind of and to me, I was always like, oh, you know, I want to be the best mom, and I want to be the best wife, and I want to be the best friend, and I want to be the best coworker, and I just made myself like, sometimes I say if I was this chill 20 years ago, maybe I wouldn't have even gotten cancer in the first place. I know
That's
it
a crazy
sounds
thought.
crazy, but
That is a crazy thought. That'll stick in my mind because I need to hear something like that. I feel like this is a therapy session for me.
and you know it also too is like and again, and I don't mean this in a sexist way, but like with women, we're always worried about taking such good care of everyone else, but I neglected to take care of myself. And I really, like 2 years ago, I said, you know what? Like, this is the race for my life. And I just have to be really, really good to myself. And I take such good care of myself. I just do. And I gave myself permission to be good to myself because I was in a desperate situation. And if I could say to my younger self or to even somebody like you, don't wait till something like that happens. Like, be good to yourself all the time.
Yeah.
There's another expression, you can't pour a cup of tea from an empty teapot. So if you're always going around and you're so stressed and worrying about things and what's going to happen and making yourself crazy, you're really not a good service to anybody.
And in that case, the comparison is basically like you don't have anything to pour anyway. Like you're making something of nothing.
Correct.
Interesting. Okay. All right. I got that one in my head now. It's funny because I called Chris, your son, on the way here. I mean, I don't know who will be listening to this, but if anyone doesn't know, Chris is my brother's best friend. So that's how I know Val. And also Ryan. But I feel like I don't even know if I knew Ryan before I knew Chris. I don't know. I mean, I must have, whatever. I don't know. Because Ryan and I were in middle school together. But when did Chris and Skylar become friends?
Middle school. They're middle school.
Okay, so it was probably like the same 6th grade for us and 8th grade for them. But anyway, I called Chris on the way here and I was just like, I can't do research on your mom. Besides what I know about her, I can't do research like I can if I'm interviewing an artist or talking to a let's just say a doctor or something. I was like, is there anything else I should know that I don't, that I could, feed off of for this conversation? And he was like having like brunch with his friends or something, and he still answered, which was really nice. But he said, not really. Like, he didn't say not really, but he basically was like, I don't think there's any like secret to anything. He's like, my mom's an open book. She's willing to talk about basically anything about her like sickness and everything. And he basically just said, my mom's been happier. And I was like, she's been happier? That's so crazy. But that's essentially what you've been describing. And it's cool that your kids can be able to see that. And also with how you were saying that you always wanted to be the best mom and the best friend and the best wife. And then you decided to take care of yourself. And it sounds to me, based off of the fact that Chris could see that you're happier, that you were still able to take care of yourself and still be the best mom. Do you agree with that?
Well, you know what? It's, like doing things that make others feel good makes me feel good. And I really I take pride in the fact that I have a good relationship with my children's, with so many friends. I just, that keeps me going every day. But what I did do was I just never was, so many times like people would say, could you do this? And I'd be like, I really couldn't. But I would be like, oh, let me just smile and say, yes, I could do it.
Like a favor or something simple?
Yeah.
But annoying, like that you didn't actually want to do?
Right, exactly. And then, there's nothing wrong with being true to yourself. And, sometimes, I when I first got sick, I was like, oh my God, if I'm sick, if I don't feel good, I don't want my friends to know because then they'll feel bad for me. If I don't feel good, I don't want my kids to know because they'll feel bad for me, my spouse. And now all of a sudden I'm just like, there are most of the days I feel really good. So I'm very fortunate and blessed and grateful for that. But it's okay if I don't feel good, if I don't feel like leaving the house. I love to go to exercise classes. I love to go to my support groups. And, if there's just some days I wake up and I can't get myself there, then I don't go. And that's okay.
And how do you deal with, like, when you are in physical pain, how do you go about your day then? You deal with it, or you do just take a relaxed day, or does it depend?
Well, a lot of cancer people, we talk about this all the time. There are some days, like for me, even if I don't feel good, I like to put my makeup on and get dressed and go out of the house. And if, I get to the restaurant, or if I stay for 20 minutes, or, and I don't feel well, we do come home. But usually, as soon as I get out of the house, I'm so distracted and so happy to be out of the house. Then all of a sudden I feel good.
It's so crazy, right? And that kind of goes back to, and I would love to touch on this, what you and I had sort of started talking about at Cow Harbor Day is kind of like the law of attraction, and how what you put out is kind of what you get back.
Oh, I believe that so much. You reap what you sow. Really. You know what, Sage, the years that I was a nurse, I'd see people with like such adversity, like such horrible, horrible, horrible things that had gone wrong. And they just put their head down and they kept on going.
In a good way.
Amazing, in an amazing way. Of course, then I'd see people the other hand, like, oh, like everything is so bad and nothing's going right for me. And I'd always think to myself, my God, those people really have nothing to complain about in the scheme of what you could be complaining against.
Yeah.
But it's all just like, that's like your own, like, what makes yourself. Sometimes there are some people, oh, I have a cold, I'm not going to leave the house, I'm going to stay home and take 3 days off from work.
Yeah.
And there are other people that, they have a cold, and as they're like, painting your living room, they're sitting there sneezing on the other thing. So it's like a matter of like your perspective and how you keep going. But I just, like I said, I've seen sick people. I've taken care of sick people. I know one day, I will be that sick person. But as long as I'm not sick that day, I'm going to get up and I'm going to make myself have a great day.
Hell yeah. And when you put your makeup on, if you're not feeling well and you go out for a little while, does it still make you sort of like feel better in the moment? Or
well, it is funny because before I was able to quit work, I was waiting for paperwork to come through to say that they would release me from my job. And my girlfriends would come over here on the days that I was home, and they'd come here and I'd be on the couch, no makeup on, and they'd walk in the door and they'd be like, "You look horrible." And I'm like, "Oh, well, thanks a lot." They're like, "No, you look really bad." I'm like, "I look horrible because I'm in my house and I don't feel well."
yeah.
They're like, "Well, what the hell's wrong with you? You keep showing up at work and your hair looks nice and you have nice clothes on and you have makeup on. And then when you're at work, you don't look like you're sick. So no wonder why work doesn't believe that you're sick and you need to not be here." So you know what I'm saying? Like, that's just another thing where it's like be true to yourself.
Yeah.
I don't want people to come over and feel sorry for me and say you look bad, but yet to keep going to work and putting out that, what I'm trying to say is like, look good, feel better. So if you don't really feel that good, put your makeup on and go out. If you're out and you're not really feeling well and you want to put on appearances and make everybody think that you're doing well, then you should probably be home with no makeup on, laying on your couch.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
And one question though, with your example about going to work and people not realizing you were even sick, in that case you were saying, were you saying that you were going to work and feeling good, or that you shouldn't be going because you're...
No, I was going to work and feeling horrible.
Okay. So yeah, so
right.
Stay true to yourself and don't do that.
Right.
Okay. I guess you could also view that as like, well, actually not really, because if you didn't feel good, then you didn't feel good. But if you're able to still get up and people see you as looking great and everything, like, it is still putting it out there and sort of making it real life. But if you don't feel good internally, I guess that's not fully true.
Right. Like, don't give into the suck. I feel sucky. Don't give into it. Push yourself a little bit. And then, because sometimes that's all you need is the distraction. And, like I have a friend right now that's like kind of sick with like ulcerative colitis.
What's that?
Like a bowel disease.
Okay.
She's really, really like irritable bowel syndrome and colitis and Crohn's disease. Those are all like in the thing. And she's just like, she said, for years I've been fighting this disease and I just put on my makeup and I go out and everybody thinks I'm so well. So she goes, but really I'm not. Now she's to the point where she's gone the other extreme and she's just like, I don't want to leave the house. And to me, you need to find like that balance. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, don't push yourself and pretend and put on a facade to make everybody happy if you're miserable.
Yeah.
But yet sometimes if it could go either way, push yourself and give yourself that little push, because sometimes all you do need is a distraction. It's like when somebody's like depressed, you get like in a bad rut and you can't get yourself out. And then because you are depressed, nobody wants to be around you because you're depressing.
Yeah.
So I always think like, people, a lot of times the solution is in the room. A lot of times we have the power within ourselves to come to the answer, but sometimes we need a little bit more coaxing than others.
And everything you're saying, is this all just a lifetime of learning all of this?
Absolutely.
Do you feel like a lot of it has come in the last, like, what is it, like 7 or 8 years? Or is it really, I mean, I'm sure it's a whole life, but.
It's funny that you say that, Sage, because I found the lump in my breast like a week after my 50th birthday. And that kind of was, 55 decades is a good amount of time to live before you start to realize, wow, I've gone places, I've done things, I know things, you kind of know a lot after 5 decades. So the fact that they both came together, I think I'm reading this book, this woman, Sheryl Sandberg, that she wrote the book Option B. And there was a quote that she got from a psychologist and said that life is not meant to live backwards. No, life, if you lived your life backwards, you could make a lot of sense out of your life. But life's not meant to live backwards. It's meant to live forward.
So what's the solution?
So now I sit there and I think, wow, I'm like, I really know a lot of things. I said, boy, I could have said, like I just said earlier, I think of treating myself this good 20 years ago, maybe I wouldn't have even gotten cancer in the first place. But you can't, the oncologist said to me when I said something when I first got diagnosed, I said, if only I could have gone back and made different choices, this wouldn't have happened to me. She said, you can't go back in a time machine and you can't fix things. All you could do is, with the knowledge and the experience that you have now, move forward. And that's why I'm just so grateful, like that my path, because I have the diagnosis that I have, my life, and like my son said, I am a lot happier. I also lived my life like a lot truer. And I think about this all the time. I say, I spend a lot of time thinking, like you go to a wedding and you see people dance and you said, I'm probably not going to be at my children's wedding. Like I probably might not be a grandmother. I put the Christmas decorations away every year and go, I might not be here another Christmas. But when I think about that, and that makes me sad. And yes, I do that. And people with terminal illnesses agree that you do that all the time.
Yeah, I feel like that has to be pretty natural.
But at the same time, I sit there and I go, now I think, wow, if I didn't have this disease, if I didn't go through what I'm going through, I wouldn't have lived the quality 10 years. Well, not 10 years yet. It's only 8.
Yeah.
But the 8 years of quality of my life is something that I've never would have gotten if it wasn't for this diagnosis.
That's so crazy. That's so cool. And obviously not everyone can actually have that mentality. So I respect that a lot.
But Sage, I say this all the time. People say to me that like when I say things, they go, you don't have a perspective like a lot of other people do. I think 36 years of being a registered nurse has made all the difference. Because, trust, if I worked in broadcasting, if I was an accountant, if I was, a software engineer, I wouldn't have seen so much about what illness is all about and how people deal with their illnesses, and people that have been cured of the simplest things, people that have been cured of the most bizarre things that happen, like the people in 9/11. They all got up that day to go to work, and they didn't have any time to think about, is this going to be my last Christmas? For them, they got up to go to work that day and do whatever, and their life was ended just like that, whether they got on a plane or whether they were in the towers or whether they were fire responders going to work. And I just sit there and I think, you know what? I have had a lot of time to think about this, and in a way, I'm lucky because I've gotten to live the life that I've wanted to live because of it.
Yeah.
And, nobody's getting out alive. And I've seen people's endings are horrible for some people.
Yeah.
And, I know now I have this disease, but I'm not I hate the word when they use actively dying. Like, I'm not somebody who's actively dying, but I don't know what my end is going to be. I'm pretty sure, and I could be 100% wrong. This will be, breast cancer is most probably what I'll die of. But yet at the same time, I don't know that because maybe this medication that I'm taking right now works for me for a long time. And maybe the people doing research projects will be discovering something else.
Yeah.
And who knows, maybe I'll be lucky enough to live to 65 and have a heart attack.